Well, we got to bring the little Sphinx of Egypt here to give you some news about Egypt. Because I'm going to tell you what's going on, right? And he's been running around. This is an Egyptian cat today. He's not going to be a Russian cat. Anyway. He flew. But I'm going to give you a little twist on something. Lindsey Williams. Remember that name? And you got your pad, paper, and pencil and all that. Actually, he's sort of getting some decent information. I don't like the way he presents it, but I think he is getting some good information, because considering how I understand how other things work, he is. The game that they got going on with the Muslim Brotherhood, it's not like the West. Well, it's quite obvious the West kind of supported the Muslim Brotherhood one way or the other, right? But the game is, they're not trying to push this strict Muslim law. The game is, they're trying to create as much turmoil, tension, civil strife as possible in nations over in the Middle East. That's the whole game. That's the Western policy. By the elite, not the American people, by the elite. That seems to be it. You know, Mohammed Morsi may not last that much longer. It's difficult to say. The Muslim Brotherhood might crack down on the people, but depends on what the military does. But in reality, no matter what leader they've had in Egypt for like a long period of time, going back many years, the military's actually controlled everything. But who controls the military in Egypt? A lot of it is the U.S., because that's where they're getting a lot of their funding from. A lot of people don't realize that. So the game actually, with the Muslim Brotherhood being supported by Western elements, is not, it's actually just to create as much tension, havoc, and strife and internal discord in the nations in the Middle East. That's the game. I shouldn't be revealing that per se, but that is the game. No doubt about it. You know, so like Lindsey Williams, he gets on with all this BS and he's all like, "Wah." But quite obviously, some of the things this guy, I think he does talk to somebody, but some of these things this guy told him, if you just look at it clearly of what's going on, and not through the eyes of Lindsey Williams, I understand what he's coming from, because that's what you always want. You want your enemies weak. Actually, you know, if you think back, remember when they had the Iraq-Iran war? That was like all kinds of division going on that the West actually did good by, you know. And, you know, of course we were supporting, or not we, the Western elite were supporting Saddam Hussein at that time when he had the, you know, in the 70s, when he had the Iran-Iraq war going on for all those years. The Western elite were actually supporting Saddam Hussein. And then, of course, they turned on him when Saddam said, well, two things, actually. Saddam was threatened to nuke Israel, and the other thing was he was threatening to switch to the euro to trade oil, take away the dollar. And I'm not sure, you know, to tell you the truth, if you want to dig in a little further with conspiracy, I'm not sure if he was actually alive then. You know, there's some speculation that Saddam Hussein actually died before they actually had the Iraq war, and that the policy that was switched to the euro, that was actually by two of his sons. This guy had so many doubles, I mean, really, it could have really been pretty easily covered up that he died. There was some operation he was supposed to go for in Italy on something, and I forgot what it was, but it's pretty plausible that he did, in fact, die before this war occurred, because this policy change is not really what I think he would have done. It could have been the sons doing it, and they kept the double charade going for all that time. It could have possibly been that way, because he was very sick before the Iraq war. So he probably might have been dead. You know, that's another conspiracy theory out there, but it could be legit, considering this guy had so many doubles. Who the hell would know, right? But the policy of the Western elite, and, you know, this is the policy, you know, I don't want to really say like the Western elite are all bad. This is the policy of anybody that's playing a shrewd game against somebody else. You want the other team to be in discord, divided, and fighting each other. That's what you always do. If, say, Russia or China was looking to weaken the West, let's go back to the classic example, right? They want as much internal discord in the United States. And actually, if you look back at Igor Panarin, he said the United States would be divided up into different parts in 2010. It was all going to fall apart. Oh, they just salivate at the thought of that. They want internal discord in the United States. That's why they get behind Occupy Wall Street. Russia gets behind it. That's a false movement. That's a false opposition movement. And I'm not saying the big banks are wonderful. They are not. I never dealt with Chase Manhattan or Bank of America or JP. I don't deal with that garbage. You go with your local stuff, especially your local credit unions. But the game in the Middle East is to create as much havoc as possible. In other words, if Mohammed Morsi in Egypt steps down as president, there's going to be more problems. The point is they want to create as much. That's the policy, what's going on by the Western elite. And it's the policy by any elite. That's how they play the game. That's why I know Lindsey Williams is right about this, because that's basically how you do things. So, we're not, the West basically kind of supports the Muslim Brotherhood. They don't do that because they think the Muslim Brotherhood is right or this or that. They just want discord. So, but that's exactly how it works everywhere. That's how it works with every freaking competing group. That's exactly what goes on. So, it may turn out to be long run if there's a lot of tension and discord in the Middle East. And this is probably why we're seeing the price of oil going up. Today it's going up a little bit. It's getting closer to that $100 level. I think it's around 98 on a Western WTI, West Texas. Well, that's really what the game is. That's what the game probably is. It really has an economic validity to it from that way, because more tensions in the Middle East, there's going to be more profitability for domestic oil production greatly. So, if you're confused as to why the Muslim Brotherhood and they're a minority, why they're supported by the West in some ways, it's just all about civil strife, about keeping them weak. And keeping Egypt weak is very important to the strategic power of Israel too, which I'm not against actually, but that's really what's going on. That's it. I'm telling you right now, that is exactly what's going on. It doesn't have anything to do with who's right and who's wrong. It's a fact that there's constant civil internal strife. That's the policy. So I think a lot of people missed the point on that deal. That's a very important point. And America's enemies play the same game against America. I want people to remember that. It's not like a one-way thing. Only the Western elite are doing it. America's enemies do that against America too. So don't fall for that trap.